What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to the Thomas Mott Show on a Sunday afternoon, breaking down what happened with Eagles and Giants, but more specifically, getting into the news of the Eagles and Giants game, because a couple of injuries here which could be key for Philadelphia. We don't have specific details. This is minutes after the game, but we can kind of speculate as to the severity of Reed Blakenship, Aaron Sipos, and possibly Lane Johnson as well. We'll also get into how Philadelphia clinches their playoff spot. The Vikings lose, but Dallas, gosh, the Texans, what are you doing on 4th and goal there? Absolutely infuriating. Let's just jump into what's going on from an injury perspective, because that's what you want to know if you are watching or listening to this show. We'll go to Jeff McClain here, his Twitter account of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Here's the full breakdown of who was hurt. Mistweeting this out earlier, but linebacker Kyron Johnson's shoulder is also officially out. Hashtag Eagles said. So that's 3 players. Blankenship knee, Sipos ankle are the other that are done for the day, end quote. And the Blankenship one, I think, is very interesting here. One, because he was playing very well. I mean, Reed Blakenship, in for the injured CJ Gardner-Johnson, had been playing, really good football, to the point that you were never calling his name during a game, which means you were never complaining about him, right? That's kind of the problem with some players on a defensive perspective. If you're talking about them, it means they're not playing well. Now, Blankenship is not the best safety in this football team. CJ Gardner-Johnson is. But let's say Blankenship is done for the season, and it is a knee injury, and he did get carted off the field. So at best, it's like a knee sprain. At worst, it's an ACL or MCL. Don't want to speculate, but that's kind of the thought process here. You're going to be without at least your two starting safeties. And I know Marcus Epps is still in there, but 2 starting safeties for the Bears game and possibly longer, depending when Gardner-Johnson is able to come back. Now, Gardner-Johnson is eligible for the Saint game. So you could miss him for not only the Cowboy game, get this right, the Cowboy game, but the Bears game. And that would mean it's Kayvon Wallace and Marcus Epps, your 2 starting safeties. And that Dallas Cowboy game is going to be for all the marbles. You win that one, you're winning the division, and you are the number 1 seed. So we'll keep an eye on this. Be sure to subscribe and thumbs up down below, because I'll have an update on Blankenship's situation tomorrow on the Monday edition of the Thomas Mott Show. But as of right now, all intents and purposes aren't looking too good. Now, Jeff McClain also has the tweet regarding Lane Johnson. Doesn't seem as bad, but worth keeping an eye on, because he has been the best right tackle, not the best offensive tackle in the National Football League the entire season. Lane Johnson has an abdominal injury and is questionable. That was during the game, but also on the sideline, you see it here. Lane Johnson just came out of the medical tent, looks okay, just fist pumped a coach, but staying on the sideline. So it looks like it's some sort of abdominal tweak, but had he needed to go back in, had Philadelphia not been scoring 48 points, goodness gracious, he would have probably been okay. But that's something to keep an eye on as we get into this Bears week coming up starting on Monday, because Lane Johnson is crucially important to the Eagles' Super Bowl chances. Jack Driscoll, nice at filling in, but again, Lane is crucial. So a couple of big names here. Sipos's ankle looked like he tweaked it obviously on that blocked kick and then run. They could go to essentially free agency and find somebody. I'm not sure who the best punter is right now, but that could be an option. Maybe a practice squad signing later on this week. All right, I want to get into a couple of praises here, because I don't just want to talk about the injuries, because in the end, they were great today. This was fantastic by the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts, these numbers are getting stupid. In the past 3 weeks for the Eagles offense, over 30 against the Packers and over 30 against the Titans, and then 48 against the Giants today. It's just getting insane. You just can't sit back and say enough good things about what the Eagles offense and Jalen Hurts have been able to do. The numbers from Jalen Hurts today: 21 of 31, 217, 2 touchdowns, 77 yards rushing, so over 100 total. Absolutely fantastic. How about Miles Sanders? First Eagles running back since 2014, and LaShawn McCoy to go over 1,000. He had 17 for $144 and 2 scores. He's got 10 this year running the football. He's going to get an extension by Philadelphia. Mark my words on that. A.J. Brown, 4 for 70. Devontae Smith, 5 for 64. Both had a touchdown. A.J. Brown was over 1,000 yards receiving. They've not had that since 2014 as well. And Jeremy Maclin. This offense is absolutely carving people up, and they're doing it in one of the most impressive ways we've seen really in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm not exaggerating here. I've not seen an Eagle offense this prolific. You can make the case for 2017. I would argue 2010 and Michael Vick, because of how well Vick ran the football. You want to compare it to Jalen Hurts, but this is something else. There was never a doubt. You saw the first drive today? There was never a doubt the Eagles were going to lose this game, and they dominated a New York Giant football team that at times has looked pretty good. They played the Cowboys pretty closely there on Thanksgiving Day. Again, look at these numbers. Right? Now, I know that ESPN's still trying to update things here. There we go. 48 to 22, 35 to 10, 40 to 33. The defense, too, let's be real here, 22-10 Yes, it was Green Bay's 33-16, 21-17. Give credit to Jonathan Gannon. They got after the quarterback again today. Daniel Jones was running for his life. 10th overall sack for Son Reddick. Told you that was going to happen. They are playing such great football right now, and it is looking really good for Philadelphia's chances, at least going into the Cowboy game in a couple of weeks. Now, first off, it is an absolute bummer that the Dallas Cowboys were able to win against the Houston Texans. First off, can you just kick a field goal there on 4th down? I get the idea of going up 10, or what was it, 9, whatever it was, double-digit scores or double scores, 2 scores, there's the word, over the Cowboys with 2 minutes left. But a field goal there means Dak has to score a touchdown. Now, I know he did, and it was a good drive by Dak Prescott, but it makes it a lot more difficult mentally if you're the Dallas Cowboys, knowing you need 6 versus knowing you need 3. You can play a lot freer when you get inside field goal range. But Minnesota losing to the Lions, I told you they were going to win that football game. Minnesota losing to the Lions makes Philadelphia's 1-seed chances a lot easier. Here it is up on your screen. Obviously, they clinched a playoff spot today, so they guaranteed one of the 7 spots. Now, they're going to be probably the number 1 seed, but you see how much more difficult it gets for these teams behind them to catch up. San Francisco, virtually impossible. They would have to win out, and Philadelphia would have to lose out in order for the 49ers to be the 1 seed. The Vikings are now 2.5 games back. The tiebreaker is absolutely key, and so most likely Minnesota is out for the 1 seed. What happens now, statistically, is if Philadelphia beats the Bears and then beats the Cowboys on Christmas Eve, they will lock up the NFC East, and they will lock up the number 1 overall seed, meaning you'll have 2 games where technically you don't need to play your starters the entire game. Very interested to see how Nick Sirianni would play that, because you don't want to have 3 weeks off before a playoff game plus a bye. So it does get interesting down the road, but it does get important to beat the Dallas Cowboys on the 24th. Now, two big takeaways here from Dallas. 1, yes, they look bad against the Houston Texans, but 2, you're going to get a really hard-fought game on Christmas Eve. If Philadelphia blows them out, it'll be the greatest Christmas gift in the history of my entire lifetime. I mean, I want nothing more than the Eagles to crush the Cowboys on December 24th. But just because the Texans played them close and almost beat them, I don't think you can take that and say, oh, Philadelphia's going to win, in a blowout fashion. Now, I think they're going to win. They're a much better football team. Dak Prescott was horrific today, minus that final drive. But that was a very interesting game to watch, and one that Philadelphia, again, needs to kind of get out of their heads, because you're probably going to have a much tougher matchup on the 24th, Christmas Eve, getting ready for the Cowboys. It'll be on the road as well, and probably a sold-out game, because a lot of kids are going to get that as a Christmas gift, and they're going to be screaming their heads off and going absolutely nuts. So, overall, nice win. The injuries are a little concerning in terms of Blakenship the next 2 weeks, because he's played so darn well, and we all know K'Von Wallace is not my favorite Eagle, let's just say that, so far this year in Philadelphia. But this was a win that Philadelphia, man, I don't even know what to say anymore. They're insane. This is one of the most fun teams I've ever seen in my life. It's the most fun Eagle team I've ever covered. It's been a great ride. And I'll finish with this thing. Remember we talked about post-Commanders? Philadelphia was coming up on the toughest 4-game stretch of their entire schedule. It's like, oh, you gotta play at the Colts, you gotta play the Packers, you gotta play the Titans, Derrick Henry, the Giants, obviously a 7-win, 8-win football team. They had a close game against the Colts, game-winning drive. Then they score 40 on the Packers, 35 on the Titans, and 48 on the road in the rain against their division rivals. You think this is a Super Bowl team? Give the show a thumbs up if you do. All right, plenty of stuff coming up later on this week. Just want to jump on here, give you guys a little bit of an update. We'll have the full injury updates tomorrow, and so stay tuned for that one. But, man, go Birds, baby. It's all I can say. At 12-1. Could you believe we're 12-1 right now? Oh, my gosh, what a fun day. See you guys.